Welcome guys, HaKDMoDz here with another tutorial. This one's on MySQL tables and databases and the insert function. Okay, first off, we're going to be creating a database and inserting tables into the database, and then after that inserting values into the tables. So first off, the first command we'll be doing is create database, and then the database name that you want to call it. It can be anything, whatever database you're doing. Next we'll be using the use command, which uses the database we just created. After that, create the table that you want to insert into the database we created. Just follow along. I'm using MySQL Workbench. You could use just MySQL. Either one's the same. Okay, so we'll be doing the ID int. That's important, so you can do a primary key. And int is integer, and it can be anywhere from 0 to 255 unless you specify. So inside my table I'll be putting a column called first name, last name, and varchar. That means variable character, so you can have anywhere up to 0 to 255. Age will be another column I'll be inserting. Just follow along. You don't have to put these column headings. You can put whatever you want related to whatever you're into, whatever you want to create the database and tables for. Primary key, will be setting that as the ID so that we can set relationships between the tables in future videos. Next table I'll be creating is credentials. You can create, like I said earlier, you can create whatever tables you like within your database. Always set the ID, and it's always integer. I'll be putting a couple of just random category column titles in mine, just to show you how it's done. Mind you, I'm only just learning this myself, so learn along with me. I'll just do 3 random tables in the database. The first half of the video. In the second half of the video we'll be doing insert into statements to insert values into the tables that we're creating now. I find Workbench is the best program for this kind of procedure, so if you haven't got it, Google it. I can put a link in the description. Yeah, I probably will. Last table I'll be creating is PS3 games will do, seeing as I'm a PS3 gamer. Remember, always put the ID, and it has to be integer with a value. Separate all statements by a comma and end with a colon. Okay, we're nearly done with this section. I'll just put in one more column for my table. I'll call it console. num means enumeration, and you can have a value of one or the other, like yes or no, or like I just put there PS3 or PS4. And then you lastly set the primary ID key, the primary key, and I'll set it to ID. That way the variables can be linked. Just do a quick cleanup of the code by pushing this broom. Now run the code by pushing the lightning. There you go, we've created the HaKDMoDz table, and inside the table, inside the database we've created the 3 tables that we just told it to create. Inside them we've created the columns that we want to create for each table. Okay, that's done. Erase that code now because you don't want to run it twice. We'll come into errors. Okay, next we're doing the insert into statement, which inserts values into the table. So start off insert into, and we're using the credentials table. Bracket tells it that now you're putting stuff into the table you've specified. Now the values, what values we'll be putting in, separated by those lines, apostrophes, quotation marks, whatever they are, separated by commas, so that the database program knows to put them into different columns rather than all spaced into one column. I'll just rip out a quick couple for the tables just to show you how it's done. Okay, so I'm putting another one into the credentials table, and setting the values are going to be set at inside the brackets with a colon at the end, remember, and separated by commas. And you can only put so many quotations in compared to how many columns you've got. If you've only got 5 columns, you don't put 6, you only put 5. Okay, I'll do a different table this time. Insert into the identity table that we created earlier. Yours could have been anything, whatever you created before is where you'll insert your values in now with the insert into statement. Oops, I forgot to insert the value for the ID, the primary key. I'll go back and just did that. Make sure you do that, otherwise you won't be able to link your relationships between tables. Unless you've got it set to int auto increment, not null. I'll just do 2 per table. I'll just start copying and pasting now. Now you understand what the go is. I'm just start rearranging a few other variables within the statement. Always change the ID key. You can type these statements separately and run a lightning bolt, or within MySQL push enter key after the statement, but I find it's easier in this Workbench to create the script and then run it. Do a mass injection into your database tables at once. Let's quickly I forgot what I named the columns. So we need one for the ID. Next one's going to be game name, so I'll type a game name. Depending on what columns you got, remember, you won't be putting this to data in if you got different column names or whatever. Obviously, understand. Try and get through this lesson as quick as possible so we can get into the next one. If you're into PS3 stuff, go to my channel, HaKDMoDz.tk, HaKDMoDz.tk. Find a few good unlocks and whatnot from jailbreaking PS3s and other tutorials on my channel, on my website. Okay, that's the last one with PS3 games. I might do one more. Nah, I'll leave it at that. Okay, so we've got that code, we've ran it. There you go, they've created the database tables and we've inserted values into the databases. Now I'll show the database with the show database command. And we've got the HaKDMoDz table we've created, but yours will be whatever you named your table. Then we use the show tables within the database. There we've got the 3 tables we created just then. Okay, now we'll do a describe, we'll do a select to get the values from within the tables from PS3 games table to start off with. There we go, we got the game titles, the IDs, whatnot that we just entered the values into. Okay, we'll do a different table now. You can check your own tables as you go along with this. Now we'll check the second table I created, the credentials table, and the values are all as set previously in the last statement. Lastly, we'll check the identity table. Okay, the values are all good. See how they work there? The values we entered go into the columns that we created. Okay, we'll go into MySQL now in the command line client. Enter your password. You can check it this way. You could have even entered the codes and the variable statements in this method. Okay, use the other HaKDMoDz database. Show the tables. There's the tables we just created. This is to get a basic understanding of MySQL and SQL. Now we'll do a select ID and we'll select the game name from the game PS3 games table. And we'll do the where statement, where clause, where ID equals 1. So that's your primary key. Where your primary key was set to 1, it'll show that line. There we go, Modern Warfare 1 is the game ID 1. If you got 100 games or 100,000 games or whatever in your tables, then the ID is where you'll be doing your search, but mainly from using the where clause. Okay, I'll just do a different one. Select the game ID this time, the ID, the game name, and the game rating from the PSC games table, where ID equals 2. So on the 2, on Warfare 2 equals, and the game rating. Now we'll check it from the, we'll do a select all from the credentials table. That shows all the values inserted into the table that you state after the from. Same as from that table. And then lastly, let's check my identity table that we created. I'm HaKDMoDz. Thanks for watching. Hope I helped. Please rate, like, and subscribe.